Welcome to episode 4 of Canada Dreams, the immigration podcast. My name is Umar. I'm an immigration lawyer here at Treadstone Law. This podcast is about everything immigration. Every week, every Monday, we post a new episode about ongoing developments in the immigration space. We cover everything immigration. So, not just talking about immigration pathways, we talk about jobs and employment and immigration news. So, if you followed the last few episodes, we covered recent developments in the immigration space, changes that have been happening in certain pathways. We also talked about changes in the volume of immigration coming in and what that means for you when you're navigating your immigration journey. The goal really is trying to figure out what is the most practical takeaway for the average person. That's whether they're looking to decide whether to immigrate to Canada, or you're looking to apply for a temporary or permanent visa, or maybe even just looking to sponsor family as well. Whatever aspect of the immigration journey you're in, our goal is helping you get relevant information that is free, that you can use in your immigration journey. Typically, over the last few episodes at least, we've been covering key articles that were changes that were happening. Today, I wanted to take a slightly different approach. I wanted to address a problem that a lot of people are facing when they go through the immigration journey. And we're going to do that by going over a story that an individual went through in the immigration space. The story relates to just tons of delays and money being wasted, and how to avoid all those delays, and how to avoid that all the money being wasted, and to be able to achieve those immigration dreams. So that's the goal today. So again, I don't know if I mentioned, it is April 15th today, and so this is this week's episode of Canada Dreams. Just a little bit about our firm. Treadstone Law has 30 offices across Canada, but we also offer digital services, so you're able to receive everything from the comfort of home. You don't have to leave your couch. You can be video calling or phone calling your lawyer from home and get all the services you need. We offer, in addition to Canadian immigration, we offer family law, real estate, corporate law as well. So we offer a full service legal areas for your needs. And one of the things that we focus on is client experience. So how we do that is, one of the things we noticed was people felt overwhelmed going through, whether it's immigration or any other aspect of their journey when they're receiving a service. It's confusing, it's overwhelming, and not just the cost, but also the complexity is just too much. So we wanted to make it simple, so simple that anyone can understand. So that way you know what you're getting, and you know what you're getting into before you even have to make any decision. So that's why we offer a lot of free content to help explain the process, explain the different things that you need to know when you're thinking about whether you need to hire someone for support in the immigration journey, or whether you just need to make the decision of whether you want to move forward as well. So this is one of those resources, which is our free podcast. Every Monday, we go over different topics. But if you follow us on Treadstone Immigration across social media channels, we also post a ton of free information and content to help you stay informed. This includes 1 to 2 minute videos explaining the different immigration pathways. So if you're looking to just understand a lot of the different pathways, for example, there's so many provincial nominee program streams as well, right? Not just each province has sub streams. So there's a lot to know. And so we offer that as well if that's something you're interested in. We also offer seminars. So between 15 minutes at the shorter end to 1 hour on the longer end, seminars on how to do certain things in the immigration process, whether you need to know to make a decision on who to hire or do it yourself. So we offer those as well. Regular price tickets range between $200 to $500 for our seminars, but one of our most popular seminars right now is free. So I'll show you at the end. I'll show you the links how to get to the seminar, and then also a special offer, a free special offer. In addition to that, I'll be going over at the end. Yeah, so that covers the resources we provide. One of the ways that what we focus on helping you have a good experience when you're working with us is how our fee structures work as well. So we provide flat rates, so you're not worrying about the hourly rates. We provide interest-free payment plans and best price guarantees. So the reason that I emphasize these things is, what I find is, when you're going through the immigration journey, when you're thinking about who to hire, your focus should be not on where do I get the best price, because that should be something that should be readily available to you. What you should be focusing on is, who do I trust? Who do I feel can provide me the best services that I need? who do I trust in being able to provide those services to me. So that's why we provide a best price guarantee and all of these other benefits as well. And of course, as I mentioned, completely digital services. So if you're looking for support, you can contact us at immigration@treadstonelaw.ca. So, without further ado, today's topics, the week of April 15th today. So, we are going to be going over an article in a sense. I wanted to go over a specific recent article on, or not recent, it's from last year, but relatively recent, on macleans.ca. I don't even know how to say that website, but okay, let me just pull it up here. So I've been waiting 5 years for my parents to join me in Canada. So this is a story about a gentleman from India who's been trying to get his parents here. And before I get into it, I want to tell you about who this is relevant to. So this is not just relevant to you if you're looking to get your parents into Canada, or if you're from India, or whether there's a particular program related to parental sponsorship or visitor visa that you're looking into. This is relevant to you. This segment is relevant to you if you have significant delays in processing, but also if you're scared that you apply and there'll be long delays in any application. Because the advice I'm going to give you at the end is how to avoid delays before they happen and what to do if you have a lot of delays. So that's the focus here. So again, how to avoid delays before they happen. So how to do everything you do correctly so that you can avoid having tons of unnecessary delays in the process. So that's one thing, whether you're applying for express entry, whether you're applying for a PNP, whether you're applying for a refugee program, whatever you're doing, how to avoid delays, firstly. And secondly, if you have a lot of delays, what do you do? Because there are options that can help you. And the goal really here is to reduce the time, but also reduce the cost for you in that entire immigration journey. So that's the takeaway here. So I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about the story, what Vikramjit went through, and then I also wanted to give you guys different takeaways, 3 pieces of advice, practical pieces of advice that you need to do, no matter which part of the immigration journey, which program you're applying to. These 3 pieces of advice apply. So I would want you to write them down. Right, I'm going to explain them in detail, and I'm going to tell you specifically what to do. But for now, first, before we get to that, I think to really understand the problem and understand what to do, I wanted to talk a little bit about the story. So, what Vikramjit went through. So, like many immigrants, a sizable percentage of our immigrant population comes from India. But this is relevant no matter where you are coming from as well. So, Vikramjit Brar arrived in Canada from Muktasar, a city in Punjab. His dad was a police officer. His mom was a stay-at-home mom, and he had a little brother as well, Amanjeet. So he left for Canada in 2008 to study at a technical diploma, I believe it was a IT diploma at Humber College in 2008. So he left his parents, his family, his brothers, cousins, everyone behind back in Punjab, like the story for a lot of immigrants. And he made that difficult journey to start a new life in Canada all by himself. So he arrived here in 2008. He went through the Humber College program, and then he found there was a PNP program in Saskatchewan. So that's a province in central Canada, Saskatchewan. The program itself, it's changed since then, but the program itself it was a provincial nominee program that said that if you work for 1,200 hours with specific employers, they can expedite your permanent residency processing, so you're able to get PR more quickly. So he decided to pursue that program, and he worked overtime. He worked late, 7 days a week, all the time he was working to be able to fulfill those 1,200 hours. It took him about 8 months, but it was a difficult 8 months because he's working long hours and he's away from family all by himself. And so he went through it to finally get that PR. But like happens often, by the time he fulfilled the requirements, the program changed. So they were no longer saying that just 1,200 hours were enough. So it was kind of devastating for him because he had been kind of marking that time of, this is the time that I'll be able to get my PR. I just need to hit those 1,200 hours, and then the program changes. Luckily for him, the change was that instead of just 1,200 hours, it was 1 full year of work. So that meant he had finished his 1,200 hours in 8 months. He now had to just wait 4 more months. In that experience, it can seem like a long time, but 4 more months to be able to apply for permanent residency. So, before I continue, just a quick takeaway for you guys. If you're going through the immigration journey, this is why I always say to plan the journey in a way where you understand the different variables. So this happens, programs change. So you need to know not only, okay, what if the program changes, is there a backup? Is there another avenue I can take? And if it changes, obviously sometimes you don't know what the new change will be. And hopefully you can meet the new change as well. So I always advocate taking a more comprehensive approach. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Don't just say, I want this program. If I don't get it, then you're screwed, right? You don't want to focus completely on pursuing one category in the immigration options available. So he meets the requirements. 1 year passes, and now he applies for permanent residency, and he gains permanent residency in 2012. So he receives his permanent residency. Now, while this is happening, back home, obviously, life is going on as well. His brother, Amanjeet, pursues university in Australia. So he moves out. Now his parents are alone, right? And as most immigrants know, it's it's not common back home for parents to just be living alone. It's you have an extended family living together, parents with their children, even up to old age. I agree with that concept. I don't know, some people don't, but I think that's a good thing. So, like, as Amanjeet leaves, he decides that he wants his parents with him, right? So at first he says, "Okay, I'm going to apply for a super visa." So I'm going to apply for a super visa to get my parents here. They're alone back home. I want them with me. I want them with to spend time here. I want them to have the comforts that I have. So if anything, they can visit or they can relocate, but I want them with me. I don't want them alone. So he applies for a super visa. So for those of you who do not know, a super visa is a special kind of visitor visa for parents and grandparents. A super visa is valid for 10 years, but within those 10 years, the parents or grandparents can come to Canada in 5-year increments. So they can come here for 5 years without needing to extend the visa or leave. Then they have to leave, but then they can come again. So technically speaking, for example, you get your visa, and on day one you arrive in Canada. Let's say somehow on the first day you get your visa, next day you have a flight, you arrive in Canada. 5 years the parents stay, then they leave, and then they come back. Another 5 years they stay, right? The remaining period. So they have 10-year validity. 5 years is the maximum a single term that they can stay. Now, why is that important? It's different from a regular visitor visa where you get 6 months of stay, then you have to apply for an extension, and then eventually you have to apply for another visitor visa once you leave as well. So it relieves a lot of headaches for people who want to get their parents to come visit in Canada. One of the things is the reason that the this program exists, not just relieving headaches, but it's also because the sponsorship process for parents is not as cut and dry, in the sense that when you have a spousal sponsorship, you have to meet certain key requirements to be able to sponsor your spouse, and then you're able to sponsor your spouse if you're approved, right? So it's more of a do you meet those requirements, and then you're approved. Whereas for the parental visa, you have to enter a lottery system. So you have to meet those requirements, but then you also have to be able to be selected. So sometimes maybe your application isn't completed properly and then you're not getting selected, or your application is completed properly and then you get selected, or you don't get selected. Whatever it is, it's a lottery system. It's not as clear cut the pathway towards permanent residency. So in 2015, Vikramjit's parents arrived in Canada, right? So now his parents have arrived, they're staying with him, and they love it. And he decides he wants to sponsor them. So he wants them to come live with him. Amanjeet is in Australia. Vikramjit is here. So both of their sons are gone. He says, "Why don't you move in with me here?" And he decides to apply for sponsorship. So in 2016, the year after, he applies for sponsorship again. So they applied for super visa. They're here on a visa. He decides to sponsor them. And as he's sponsoring them, the year after, about a year and a half later, he gets the lottery selection. So great news. He gets the lottery selection. He goes out, he hires someone to help him submit the applications. So he gets all the documents together. Another year passes. Not sure why it took that long, but another year passes. And he gets all the documents together. And by 2018, he has submitted the documents for his parents' permanent residency. This is where the chaos happens. This is where things kind of go a little bit crazy, right? So processing time for PR sponsorship is about 2 years. By then, the super visa has expired. So his parents go back to India. Now, time passes, nothing happens. 6 months later, um, uh, or 4 months later, they do medical exams. Then another year, a few years later, they have to do uh, um, the fingerprints. So they get their medical exams, they get their fingerprints, but no updates. 2 years pass, 3 years pass, no updates, nothing. And the issue with not getting updates is that you can ask for an update, but there's a specific system to ask for an update, which is there's a centralized form that you submit. Then within 30 days, which doesn't happen, but that's what they claim, within 30 days they give you a response. He submits that form, nothing happens. And the consultant that he'd hired calls the IRCC, no responses. So delays. Another year passes. So now we are at 2018. He applied. By 2022, 4 years later, nothing. He decides he's going to apply for a super visa. So now it's been 5 years since he got selected for the lottery and 4 years since he applied, and he's applying for a super visa. And so he applies for the super visa. A year passes, nothing happens. He finally hears back that his mom is accepted, but his dad is not. They inquire. They find out actually that was an accident. The mom's acceptance is taken away. So both of them are not accepted. They have to wait. Both super visas will be approved together. So more delays happen. Now, this article was posted in 2023. So that is 2017 was when the lottery was approved. 6 years after the lottery was approved, no permanent residency. Parents are in India. They don't have a super visa to visit their child. Everything is stuck in a limbo. Since then, Vikramjit has gotten married and looking to have kids, unable to have his parents come. So this is a common experience for a lot of people, and it's a difficult experience because you're coming to this country and everybody is back home. So now you finally got that permanent residency and you're able to stay, but your parents are stuck and you're unable to bring them here, and it's hard, especially when you're going through these things in life. Vikramjit even got a house, and now he's looking to have kids, and the grandparents can't see them, and it's just a stressful experience to be in. Moving and leaving your country behind is stressful itself, but going through that afterwards for years upon years upon years is stressful and expensive. Vikramjit spent over $10,000 on fees, but there are a ton of mistakes that he's made and he's possibly continuing to make that he could have avoided those expenses or could have expedited the process as well. So it's important to not only look at, okay, I need to not make these mistakes to cause the delays, but also if the delays are happening, what can I do in response, if anything, right? So those are the things that you need to understand. So sometimes it is reacting to the problem of the delays, but it's also preventing the problem of the delays. So he spent over $10,000 in fees and IRCC costs, and 6 years later, his parents are still stuck in India. Now, the main applications that he faced delays for in this is a super visa and sponsorship. So again, applies to everything. I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice that you can use, takeaways if you're going through the immigration journey. So 3 pieces of advice for if you're applying for anything, right? So while in his circumstance, this was a super visa and sponsorship, but in reality, this applies for everything. So the first thing is one of the common reasons the applications are delayed is that the application was not prepared properly. It was not fully completed. There were things missing. There were things that were not, whether it's in a form or documents missing. So while this is obvious, it may appear obvious, this happens so often that it's important to point out that sometimes your delays could be related to something that is missing, but you don't even know because it's still in process and you haven't been notified that something's missing. So by the time you find out, it's tons of time has passed. So it's important for you to make sure that every aspect of the application is completed properly and completed completely. So that is essential. So if you're not doing that, not only can you get more delays, you can get more costs, more expenses. So it's just an overall a headache on top of a headache on top of a headache. So that's why when you're doing this, it's important to hire someone that has experience in the process, someone that has experience going through that immigration journey, helping other people go through that journey. And then they're able to guide you and they're able to apply effectively. And you're able to focus on everything else because obviously you'll have other headaches, other things, other worries in life, or not even just worries, focuses in your life that you'd rather focus on, whether it's your career or your family or your relationships or whatever else it is. You focus on those things that matter and you hire someone that has the experience to help you apply properly. Now, the next two pieces of advice are critical. Second piece of advice is hire a lawyer. Now, the reason that I say this is based on IRCC data. Based on IRCC data, so they release data for all of the applications that they received, and then they release data for all of the applications that were rejected, and they release data for all of the applications that were accepted. Right? So there's a lot more accepted, a lot more rejected than accepted. So they release data for all of this, but they also release data for who submitted those applications. So they indicate whether the person had a lawyer submitting it, whether the person had a consultant submitting it, or whether the person submitted it themselves. So they have all three of these categories. So submitted themselves, consultant, and lawyer. And there were some very um, uh, significant implications of the data results. So, one of the things that came out was that if you hire an immigration consultant or you apply yourself, the rate of rejection or rate of acceptance is the exact same. So, whether you hire a consultant or you apply yourself, the rate of rejection was about 20%, right? So, doesn't matter. I think it was maybe 0.5% difference between the two. So you're spending a lot of money, but you're not getting much of a difference in the result that you're paying for because you're paying for the result, right? Not just the application. But the crazy thing was that so you had these people that applied themselves or used a consultant, 20% rate of rejection. People who used a lawyer had a 10% rate of rejection. So they cut their rate of rejection in half by using a lawyer. It's because lawyers have a lot more experience and more training going through the process. Lawyers in Canada go through 8 years of education to become a lawyer, minimum. So you have your 4-year degree, 3 years law degree, 1 year of training and articling. Add to that years of experience, and not just that. Third piece of advice, which I'll go over, provides additional training as well. It's a tool that you can use. So my third piece of advice, it's called a writ of mandamus. It's a special application that only a lawyer can submit because it is a court application that you're able to submit to the courts saying that the IRCC has delayed my application too much and they need to give me my answer now. That's basically what it is saying. And the basis of this application is that they owe you a duty to not provide an unreasonable delay in processing your application. So, on the outset, it appears like it's pretty simple, but it's a lot more complex. So you have to meet all the requirements. You have to prove that they owe you a duty. So there are certain requirements to prove that a duty is owed. A duty is not owed to everyone. A duty becomes owed after certain things happen in your application, right? So prove that a duty is owed, and then establish that they are required to fulfill that duty as well, right? So it's a writ of mandamus. So this is something that can be submitted if there are unnecessary delays in your application and you want to force the IRC essentially by a court saying that they have to submit a response to your application. So this is something that only a lawyer can submit. So court applications, consultants cannot submit, only lawyers can. And these applications provide further training to lawyers in terms of how to apply in the normal process of applications as well. So both sides of the immigration journey. So those are the three pieces of advice, three takeaways for you if you are going through the immigration journey. I hope the story about Vikramjeet was helpful. One thing I wanted to leave you guys with as well, I have the tabs open just to show you. So if anyone's wondering what the official time for these applications are, 27 months. It's been 7 years for Vikramjeet, or 6 years, something like that. 27 months. So that's 2.5 years is what the official time should be. And again, temporary residence, um, super visa. This one is more shocking. 59 days. But now it was a year, 2 years by the time he had gotten the confirmed rejection, a year plus, or not rejection, but confirmed no response. 59 days. So clearly something is up with his application, whether it's improperly completed or whether it's something else. We don't know. All we know is that there is possibly a writ of mandamus, maybe an option. I don't know. Each circumstance is unique. So it's about looking at each circumstance and understanding that particular circumstance's unique situation. So now, as we conclude, I have a special offer for you guys. I wanted to tell you about a free offer if you're going through the immigration journey, something free that will help you in this process. So again, just to recap, how do we help? We provide flat rates, interest-free plans, best price guarantee, and digital services. So if you're interested, contact immigration@treadstonelaw.ca. Now, follow us at Treadstone Immigration across social media channels for news, pathways, jobs and employment, and tons of special offers. One of our free offers right now is we're giving a free consultation and 25% off immigration services. So you get a free consultation, understand what you need to do next, and receive 25% off services. If you're interested, contact immigration@treadstonelaw.ca or visit immigrate.treadstonelaw.ca/2024. The link is in the bio below. You can also check out our, when you click the link, you'll get to a page like this. And you just fill out the quick form here, and then you're able to request your free call and receive free immigration services, free free consultation. I wish we could give them free, and 25% off your immigration services. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Canada Dreams, the immigration podcast, brought to you by Treadstone Law. Again, my name is Umar. I'm an immigration lawyer here at Treadstone Law. If you have any questions, again, immigration@treadstonelaw.ca. Have a wonderful day.